They rarely argued. I can count on both of my hands the amount of times they yelled at each other. They've always been happy together as far as I know. Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go over them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, I'm going to go over a story titled, My Mom, a 47-year-old female, is cheating on my dad, and I don't know how to tell him. And a big shout out to Joseph for sending me this story. And guys, what we have here is a situation where this young gal, she's 24 years old, well, not super young, but still young. One day, lo and behold, she finds out that her mom is cheating on her dad. You want to talk about an awkward situation and an awkward position to put her in. And you're going to see she finds out in the worst possible way with the worst possible proof. And as you can imagine, she's now in a tough spot figuring out what does she do here, right? Because she thought her parents always had the perfect marriage, right? How many times have you heard that one? Because they never fight and they seem like they're so in love and blah, blah, blah. People always say how great their marriage is, that type of stuff, right? And lo and behold, deep down, not so perfect, or at least with the mother. And you're going to see in the story, guys, without me revealing too much, the dad is a typical nice guy in a sense that he is obviously on paper, the wonderful husband. He makes personal sacrifices for the wife, does everything he can to make her life easy, all sorts of stuff. I don't want to reveal too much. And on paper, that's a great thing. But in reality, that turns a lot of women off. They see that as weakness, and they exploit it. But you're going to see, guys, that she is now on the fence what to do. Does she say anything? Does she go to her dad because she doesn't want to destroy him? All that type of stuff. But you're going to see what she eventually does, and I might add, what the dad does when he finds out. And let's just say, I don't want to reveal too much, that the father, his nice guy ways, you'll see what happens when you push a guy too far and how he handles it. It's quite entertaining. And this is made of 2 parts here. So, getting started, it says here, my mom, a 47-year-old female, and dad have been together for 25 years, and I could have honestly said they were the ideal relationship in my mind. They rarely ever argued, always talked to each other, and I thought were always loving and faithful to each other. Well, probably her dad was, but not the mom. I can even remember in school a few of my teachers telling me that my dad and mom were a great couple, and I should be thankful that I had a great example of what healthy relationships look like. Well, let's just say maybe early on they had a good thing going, but eventually mom got bored. Mom lost respect for dad. I don't know. But was this going on all the time for 25 years, or is it recent? Seems like it was recent. But regardless, doesn't matter. Not cool. And she'll get what's coming to her. She says they rarely ever argued. I can count on both hands the times they yelled at each other. They've always been happy together as far as I know. Well, clearly Mama wasn't happy. I needed to use my mom's laptop one day to send out some emails for work, as mine was not connecting to our Wi-Fi. I started sending off emails and mom's messages popped up on her laptop. It was from a guy named Chris, and he thanked her for draining him last night. Oh, can you imagine that one, guys? That popping up and seeing some dude that said that to your mom? I, not knowing what the hell was going on, decided to open up her messages and saw that she's been cheating on my dad for the past year at least. Again, this is her parents who she thought had the perfect relationship. The messages they sent each other were extremely explicit, and they sent pictures and videos. I started to hyperventilate and realized what was happening. I started to dry heave. I was able to screenshot the messages and send the pictures to my email. After that, I told my parents I was going out for a bit. My dad told me to stay safe and kiss my forehead, and I nearly broke down in the house. I was able to drive away for a few minutes and get to a private location and cry. Talk about a giant weight on this girl's shoulders. Good Lord. Because obviously up until that point, she very much loved both her parents, even her a-hole mom. And she actually saw these messages, and God forbid, probably either she saw the pictures or she had a glimpse of the pictures before she was like, oh, Jesus, of her mom doing Lord knows what to that dude, and that dude, you know what, in her mom's mouth, or some god-awful thing. Imagine that, your mom or your dad seeing that. You're not going to get that image out of your head, ever. She says, why would she do this? Does she not love my dad? He's done so much for her. Listen to this. Waited on her hand and foot when she broke her leg skiing, moved so she could be closer to her family, and when she went through PPD with me, he's done so much for all of us, and she does this. Why? Dad was always there for her when she needed him, worked overtime to allow us to experience things together. So again, like I said earlier, on paper, her dad, great guy, and he is a great guy, and great to the wife, but when a guy does all these things, makes her, obviously put her on the pedestal, she said they hardly ever fought or argued, probably because he just probably went along with things, I'm going to guess, which women don't respect if a guy just goes along with everything, made all these sacrifices for what he wanted for her, and again, on paper, that's a great thing, but a lot of women will lose respect when a guy does that so much. You know, it's crazy how human nature works. Meanwhile, the guys that don't do any of that stuff, that's the ones that are chasing after us. I guarantee the dude that she's hooking up with doesn't do any of that stuff. I don't know what I'm going to tell my sister, who's 18. She's coming back from university next week, and she adores our dad. It's also the last thing I want to tell my brother, who's 22, because he's doing his master's, and I don't want anything to distract him from his final exams in a few months. It's like I can't tell anyone about this. All my friends' parents are divorced or were never married to begin with, and they also looked at my parents as what a good marriage looked like. I'm sorry if I'm rambling, I just don't know what to do. Whenever I think about it, I feel hurt. I remember when I was 16 and my mom showed me the love letters and poems my dad wrote to her, and they were all so beautiful. He's loved her with all his heart for 25 years, and she's been doing this to him. Again, dad's doing everything right on paper, but obviously it either turned mom off or mom got bored after 25 years. Who the hell knows what's going on here? But again, this is why, one of many reasons I have my opinion about marriage. At least until things about marriage and human nature change a bit. But good luck there. The last person I want to tell is my dad. I feel as if me telling him will break everything, and the dad I knew who was so loving and caring will be gone. I've been told by my friends that it happened to their parents too, that for years they were never the same. My best friend dad took his own life when he found out about his wife's infidelity. Holy shit. I'm sorry if this is rambling, I'm just so hurt and confused. Why would she do this? How do I tell my dad that the person he's loved for 25 years has betrayed him? Please, any advice is appreciated. So that's the end of her first story. Now we're going to come up on the second part. But real quick, as hard as it is, and she's in a tough spot, I'm not going to deny that at all, the pressure there, she has to tell him. And she has to tell him as soon as possible, and she's got proof, thank the Lord, because just her telling him, the mother could deny everything, which she will do, guaranteed. But she's got proof if he wants to see it. But as a guy and knowing men, we want to know. Good, bad, or ugly, we want to know. And she's worried that he may not be the same loving guy as he was before. He'll be hurt, but he'll love the daughters just the same. But the wrath will go on the soon-to-be ex-wife. That I can tell you. Now, the update. She says, sorry for the post being so long. It's been a while since the last update, and a lot has happened. Thank you for everyone who's responded and everyone who DM'd me with advice and support. Yeah, this part 2 is recent, like really recent, while the first part of the story was months ago. So after I got back home, I headed straight to bed. When I was having breakfast the next morning, I was on Twitter, and my mom saw a thread on the Chris Rock situation at the Oscars, and we got to talking about it. I ended up asking about if she would ever or had ever had an open relationship or agreement with my dad. She shut it down straight away and said that she could never do such a thing, and she loved my dad too much to ever let him sleep with somebody else. Well, she's probably not entirely lying there, because she wouldn't want him sleep with somebody else, but it's perfectly okay if she sleeps with somebody else. She then went on for about 10 minutes on how much she loved him, and how they were each other's one and only. If she's rambling on for 10 minutes just about how much she loves her husband, this girl's dad, 10 minutes, or even half the time, 5 minutes, she's trying too hard. Something's up. And this girl knows it. And this girl's just sitting back with her poker face listening to all this bullshit from her mom. I wanted to scream at her that I knew what she was doing, but I held my tongue and knew that I had to tell my dad about what I had found out. At the end of the week, I got everything together and asked my dad if he wanted to spend the day with me and go get food and do whatever he wanted to do. He said sure, and that he hasn't really spent much time with me since I started my new job, and it'd be nice to spend that day together. I tried to keep everything together, but he could tell something was off. A parent knows, trust me. When I say trust me, I don't mean like I know, because I don't have any kids, but I know that my parents could always sense something was up. We went to his self-storage lot as he needed to pick up some stuff to bring back to his house. Before we left, he stopped me and asked if I was all right. He said, "Hey, are you okay? You've been really quiet and clingy today. Did something happen with your boyfriend?" I ended up bursting into tears and told him what had happened. He asked if I was 100% sure, and I said that I had my laptop with me and could show him some of the emails that I had saved. When he saw them, I could see the pain in his eyes. It was like someone had stabbed him. That poor guy, 25 years, and he's been the good, great husband and great father, and it must have killed this girl doing this. For a few minutes, he was silent, and there were just tears just streaming down his face. He wasn't sobbing there, they were just tears. He hugged me and said, "Thank you for telling me about this. No matter what happens from here, please remember I love you and your brother and sister. You are the pride of my life and pride and joy, and don't ever forget that." He dried his face and went up driving home. See? He's a man. Even though he's a very nice guy, man, he's a man. Okay? He reacted, but no matter what, it's not going to change my relationship with you. He's not going to shoot the messenger here. When we got back to the house, he told me not to mention anything to my mom, and he wanted to check some things before he talked to her about this. We all ended up going to sleep early that night, but I couldn't resist. I kept on having nightmares where the worst happened to my dad. I ended up going downstairs at around 2 o'clock in the morning and saw my dad on my mom's laptop looking through her emails. I asked what he was doing, and this was the first time I ever seen my dad so angry. So he's turned around that hurt into anger. And you know what? It's good to be angry sometimes, because that will help you from caving and making bigger mistakes by feeling bad or something like that. He turned his head around and to me and just said, "That effing bitch," and left the house. I checked the emails and saw that he had 4 days open. Seeing this had truly killed any part of me that had any feelings to my mom. The days in question were the day my aunt, my dad's younger sister, had died, the day after, the day of her funeral, and the day her ashes were scattered. She was planning to hook up with her guy on the day the dad's younger sister died, and obviously the dad's 50 years old, so the younger sister's in her 40s, not that young, like near my age, and she was planning to meet up to hook up with her lover then, when he would obviously very much need her and be there for the family. What a selfish a-hole. And those emails were my mom asking to meet up with Chris and asking Chris what he was going to do with her when she got to his place. I vomited again and realized that my dad had just left the house and I had no idea where he was going. I got outside and saw him. He was sitting in his car and he was bawling. He couldn't stop crying. I felt as if this had broken him. After about an hour, I convinced him to come back in the house and try to get some rest. I closed the laptop and put it back so my mom wouldn't find out about my dad going through her history. He was trying to keep it together, but then he had to go out and let out the emotions. And you know what? He had to do what he had to do. Nobody could blame him. 25 years he thought he was with a woman that loved him and did all these things. It's understandable. But don't ever let her see him cry. Never. Let it all out in your own privacy. Go out, drive around, whatever. Go to your man cave, but don't let her see you crying. Get out of your system and figure out your plan. Now is where it's going to get good. On the following Tuesday is when my dad decided to confront my mom about her affair. I was not at home when it happened, but he sat her down and asked if she was having an affair. She, of course, denied this and said that she could never do such a thing and she loved him so much with all her heart. Does this sound familiar, guys, from all the stories I go over here? He's caught her, he has all the proof, but she's still denying it. My dad lost it and showed her the emails and yelled at her. Phoned her brother to pick her up and that he was filing for divorce immediately. Nice job. Kick her ass out. And filing for divorce. Don't waste your time. Probably ahead of time he was probably consulting with his attorney, finding out his options, good, bad, or ugly. That's really good. I like this because a lot of guys, they end up leaving and the wife stays at home. Mom tried to say it was a mistake and they could work through it, but Dad isn't having any of this. Says that day he has not contacted her unless it is through a lawyer. Very smart. This guy had some good advice given to him. My uncle has come over to the house a few times to get clothes and other things for my mom, and he tries to give updates on her well-being to my dad, but he just shuts it down and says he doesn't care and says that she needs to speed up on getting paperwork signed. Good for him. I think all the love he had for her, just like that, turned into pure freaking anger and hate even. Temporarily. I hope this guy will not go around hating his heart forever, but towards her. But this is going to help him rake her over the coals for all this. Look, he's got all that proof right there. As for my brother and sister, I contacted my brother on the Wednesday and told him what was happening. I apologized because it was so close to exams, and this is the last thing that he should be worried about. He's a young man. He will get through it. This is a perfect lesson for the brother to shit's happening in the family, but I got to focus on my studies, my purpose, my grind, and get through those exams, and then I can deal with the family shit later. That's also be a good test for the brother. He's a man. He'll get through it. He said he'll be. He said that he'll be coming home back once the exams were over, and I should keep an eye on Dad just in case anything happened. My sister, on the other hand, came back home early the day after I told her and hasn't really left my dad's side ever since. She's basically waiting on him hand and foot, cleaning the house, making dinner for all of us. I think she's taking this the worst, and my dad thought so too. So I asked her to see a counselor, and that'd be okay. My mom has tried to contact all of us, and none of us have responded aside from making sure she hasn't started on the paperwork and was in contact with a lawyer, etc. I don't blame any of these excuse me, guys. I don't blame any of this family at all for not talking to her. But of course, she's going to probably play the world's smallest violin or something like that and do the waterworks and probably take advantage. Dad has said that he should probably meet with Mom soon, as despite all that's happened between the two of us, that she was never a bad mom and loved us just as much as he did. Oh, he said that she, not him, she, the daughter, should meet with the mother. So I will be meeting with her next week, and I'm dreading every minute of it. So now we're all in a weird place where we don't know what is going to happen next. Dad is a lot less like himself and is a lot more quiet and reserved, which scares me. But thankfully, a lot of his friends and family have been over offering him support. He's not going to snap back and be his old self anytime soon. The fact that he isn't blaming you and he loves you and all that, that's enough, okay? She needs to give this guy space because it's going to take time. And of course he's quiet. After 25 years, I'd be pretty worn down too if this was me and any of you guys. But he'll be all right. Just give him time. I think once he divorces the bitch, then he can truly move on. The one funny thing I can say is when I told my close friends about their divorce, a lot of them made the joke that they'd be snapping up my dad once he's back on the dating market. Of course, her friends had to say that, which I can see as being a bit weird, but it's pretty funny because they admitted to having crushes on him when they were 16. Stupid stuff like that. Even if they were jokes, gives me some hope that once this all ends, hopefully my dad will find someone who values and loves him like we all do. Well, that was very nice to hear that her young 20-something friends find the dad hot and all that, and, fine, whatever, but that's the last thing he's worried about. And believe me, the last thing he's even thinking about is getting into some kind of relationship after all this shit went down. If you think he's ever going to trust anybody ever again, another woman, not a chance in hell. He is never, ever going to, not like it was in the old days after all this, because probably in his mind, I was in this great marriage, the one that everybody envied, and look what happened. So if I couldn't trust her, who the hell else am I going to trust? But anyhow, guys, that's the end of this part of the story. Now, something tells me there'll be more parts coming on, so I will keep an eye on this for updates here. But it goes to show you, even the so-called perfect marriages, everything that everybody looks up to and idolizes, not so much the case. Does this mean that everyone is like this? Of course not. But it goes to show this is what happens. And again, he was the perfect husband on paper, but wasn't enough for her. For whatever reason, she lost respect for him. She got bored. She's just a selfish a-hole to begin with. Maybe this has been going on for a long time. Maybe those kids aren't his. You never know. I mean, given all these stories I do, I hope that all those kids are his kids and she wasn't cheating all this time. Who knows? But we shall see where this thing goes. So, all right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below what you think about this. And, guys, you come across a good story that you'd like me to cover, email it to me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com, and I'll definitely cover it down the road. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.